Populism is a political ideology which sets up a matchup between two sides in our society: the ordinary people, who are the pure people, and the corrupt elite. It draws focus on enormous love for the mass populace and immense hate for the elites. The people constitute one of the main components of populism. However, not all people are considered part of the aforementioned pure people that populism represents. What forms a pure person is him being authentic, righteous, pure, and fully unified with other pure people. Populists also believe that political acts, such as voting, don't showcase people's individual will, but instead display a manufactured construct by the media and their direct environment. Secondly, the elites are another key aspect of this ideology. Unlike many other views of the elite, populists believe elites are inherently corrupt, even before they rose to power. It's believed that their nature is a morally corrupt one. Simply put, they're viewed as the enemy of the people. There are three perceived types of elites: the political elite, those involved in the higher ranking areas of state politics; the economic elite, the richest of the rich, the biggest banks and businesses who work in conjunction with the political elite; and the cultural elite, the most humongous media outlets, such as the BBC, CNN, which are all accused of propagating the other elites. Fraudulent, shady behavior, faking wars, faking elections, to achieve their agendas are often associated with these elites, resulting in conspiracy theories being a big aspect in populism. Interestingly enough, some of the biggest populist leaders, such as Donald Trump and Viktor Orban, have achieved their populist status amidst their extravagant lifestyles and backgrounds, showcasing some discrepancies in this ideology. Additionally, populism as a whole believes that representative democracy, citizens voting on representatives to create laws and policy on behalf of them, is an inaccurate representation of people's will, due to the development of ulterior motives for the elected representatives. Instead, a portion of populists propose plebiscitary, or direct, democracy as the true way of abiding by the collective's will. Direct or plebiscitary democracy is a form of democracy where all policies and laws are created by a general vote of the entire society. This means that there are no intermediaries between the people and the government, contrasting representative democracy, of course. This places the power of the nation's decision-making firmly in the citizens' hands. Examples of nations that have utilized direct democracy are modern-day Switzerland and ancient Athens. Direct democracy, thus, allows for greater government transparency and accountability, as all discussions and decisions are conducted alongside the general public. Ultimately, all important decisions are taken by the people themselves. However, not all is perfect with plebiscitary democracy. A few cons exist within this system. Firstly, if all citizens were to vote on every issue a country is facing, people would spend their entire day voting on endless problems. Furthermore, in heavily pluralist nations, such as the US, this amount of power being handed to all sorts of different people of contrasting beliefs and backgrounds could lead to massive tension. What are the odds that everyone will happily agree to a specific stance on a particular issue? With these components of populism in mind, the most common type of populism around is authoritarian populism. This took me off guard. This version of populism is far more strict, centered around obedience and national unity. Pseudo-dictatorships, the implementation of strict rigid orders, and the admiration of leaders we can consider part of the elite aren't usually aspects one would associate with populism. So, what makes this form of populism different? One thing authoritarian populist leaders, such as Trump, Erdogan, or Viktor Orban, have specialized in is appearing as part of the people. They don't speak as a representative of the people, for this would imply that they are superior to their subjects. Instead, they would passionately claim themselves as part of the people. By acting in this way, The populace disassociates this leader from any elite backgrounds he might have, and considers him one of the pure people. This subsequently widens the power and scope of the populist leader, while weakening other aspects of the nation, such as the judicial and legislative branches of a country. Authoritarian populist leaders also heavily utilize an enemy, an opposing force to the pure people's well-being. Depending on the nation, this populist leader would end up choosing an enemy which has impacted their people. For example, some European leaders over the past decade have criticized liberal principles, such as the free market, for the occurrence of the European debt crisis. Other leaders have antagonized immigrant groups for a plethora of problems in their nation. However, this vilifying of a specific group or ideology is key in giving the populist leader greater power. He makes his people feel as though he is their protector, their savior from these troubles.